get because yeah, no, we're doing good, man. It's great to catch up. I mean, you've always been so good to me over the years, so thanks for always telling some old war stories. I figured we could kind of all get together here and hear some more, man. But like you hit on it there a little bit. What's life like for you today, Frank?
Well, I keep busy. I'm still working. I'm involved in some businesses with regards to some up in Wisconsin with these big companies called these big dairy farms up there. They're called CAFOs, and I invested in a company a couple of years ago. It's called Aqua Innovations Plus. We do a lot of stuff with the it's called an NCS system with regards to mitigating the cow manure and trying to solve a huge problem in Wisconsin. And then I still do some. I'm still in the restaurant bar business a little bit, not much,
Nice.
but I moved away from that because it's a tough business. I still have one bar left in Cleveland, and then I started a new venture. We're doing some work with some renewable natural gas with these large dairy farms up in the state of Wisconsin.
So what do you do with all that cow shit? Like, how do you get rid of it? Really? Like,
Man, it's a huge problem up there. It's especially if you look up in these like Kiowani County and stuff like that, they have huge problems with getting rid of it because there's so much of it. So what they do is they try to spread it on the land through the fall and spring. But our system, we what we could do is we could take about for every gallon of cow manure that's in the pit, we can get rid of about 35% of it. So that saves a lot of land spreading and stuff. So, and the other two streams that we get from it, we try to use for fertilizer, organic fertilizer, which benefit the farmers. So, we're hoping we get a handle on this, and hopefully we could figure this out. And we made some strides over the last couple of years, and we'll see where it goes from there.
man, good to hear. Man, I don't want to monopolize the conversation. I know Brandon. You watched it back in the '90s, right? We're about the same age, Brandon. So you saw
Yeah.
this guy in the heyday.
Yeah, Frank. So man, it's kind of crazy to be on a call with you. I'm a huge fan of yours. Growing up, um, I just kind of want to get your thoughts from like the other side of it. Like as a Packers fan, diehard Packer fan, we see one side of it. What's it like playing for the Packers? Like, is it from your perspective? Is it different than any other team? Is it? I mean, we're nuts for you guys. We love you guys. I still can't believe I'm talking to Frank Winters, but what are your thoughts on that?
Sure. Well, I mean, it is a unique situation. When you look at Green Bay, you look at the history within the organization. Especially going back to Lombardi eras, and even before that with Curly Lambeau. There, you look at it today. It's definitely it's a small town. I don't think you'll not in my lifetime. I don't think you'll ever see a franchise in any sport, not regarding football, but baseball, anything, with the population of the size of Green Bay. So it is a special relationship. It has changed. Green Bay has become more of more directed towards business and stuff. And I understand that, but it is truly a remarkable organization. We still keep in touch with a lot of the players, even with the older guys. I was up in Appleton last week. I participated in a golf event with Lynn Dickey, Mark Fleming, Paul
Wow.
Kaufman, Willie Buchanan. So there was quite a bit of us up there, so it was a good time. We had a lot of fun. And that's one good thing about Green Bay. They do bring a lot of the old players back, and players from my era, maybe a little bit later, where we participate in a lot of things, and they try to kind of spread it out. So it is a remarkable organization. There's no owner, so they do a remarkable job from that perspective. And I think this year, I think for the fourth game against Pittsburgh, they're doing the 25th. Celebrating 25 years of Super Bowl 31 team. So that would be that's going to be an interesting weekend. They have a lot going on that weekend, but
That's crazy. That's actually the game I'm going to this year.
oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, you're telling me what's going on, and I already have bought the ticket, so that's awesome to
Yeah,
know.
it is. And there's and I think with regards to what happened last year with a lot of the old time Packers passing away, like Paul Hornung and Bart Starr, and with COVID, limiting, no stands and attendance, I think they're going to do a lot of that carryover this year. So it's going to be an interesting year, and we'll see what happens, and hopefully that we get back to a couple games this year. I know I'll be out for the Pittsburgh game, and I think it's the Cleveland game on Christmas. I'm going to do some stuff for the Packers that day.
Awesome.
Nice. Hey, Frank, you just kind of fill us in quick. Like, I mean, you were drafted in a round that doesn't even exist anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I think we kind of grew up watching the Packers, and you were just, you're there for a solid decade, but to get there, to get that opportunity, how tough was it? You know what I mean? That part of your life, that part of your career kind of gets lost, I feel like, getting to Green Bay.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was. I mean, I got drafted in the 10th round. Like you said, that round doesn't exist anymore. Today, you would be a free agent, and you would have the opportunity to sign with anybody that you felt you had the best chance of making. Going to a small school, I think back then was different than what it is today, because I think with say technology and the scouting departments, where they could expand and watch more film and visit more schools, and it's more of an outreach. So it's there are not too many players in playing college football in USA today that don't get a look at it, don't get recognized if they're good enough to play in the NFL. I mean, they'll go anywhere to find a good player. And maybe back in the 80s when I got drafted, it wasn't as advanced as it is in today. But I was a guy who got drafted in the 10th round. I think the first round pick in my year when I got drafted in Cleveland I think he was a center. Went to the University of Miami. But those big schools back in the day, they had a big advantage over a small school. And you try to make the most of your opportunity, and that's what happened. And I bounced around the first couple of years, and then some things happened, and plan B, I got to move around versus other players who had to stay in the same city. And then I get to Green Bay and play behind some guys who got hurt, and the rest is history. And you just take advantage of it and try to make the most of it.
No doubt. Brent, I see your hand up, and
I don't want to overtake anybody. I have like 100 questions I could ask Frank right now. So if I feel like if I'm asking too much, just let me know.
No,
Frank, if you can look over my shoulder here, you see one of my favorite players, autograph football, Brett Favre, who I idolized growing up, and really what made me fall in love with the Packers and obviously that team in the 90s. If you could tell us maybe a PG-13, what was your favorite story? What was your favorite memory or whatever you can of the character of Brett Favre?
Mm-hmm.
we can go rated R too. It's fine. It's anything goes.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are so many. I mean, we talk about Brett all the time. People seem to. I was at a function last night with some friends, and everybody refers and wants to know what's going on in Brett's life and stuff. But I mean, Brett is a guy. He's just a good old country boy. He's a guy that was a lot of fun. He was a big prankster. He played a lot of jokes, and continue off the field versus while he was on the field too. I mean, he always had a good time. And there are stories. There are so many of them. I forget. I was doing last week in Chicago. They're doing a special on John Madden, and they called me up and asked me if I would partake in the interview process to, because, he called me Bag of Donuts, and, he always thought I was one of his favorite players. And then, so they were asking me a story about Brett. And I remember we played on, I can't remember what game it was, but, the night before the game, you would go in and sit down and talk to John Madden and Pat Summerall. And they would kind of like ask you questions about the game plan. What are you going to do against this guy? And how do you plan on stopping this, and how you plan on overcoming that? And we were playing in Green Bay, and Brett was talking with John Madden and Pat Summerall. And I think as Brett was walking out of the meeting, he lit his smoke bomb, or one of those stink bombs. And as he walked out, he threw it back into the interview room where everybody else was going to be following him. And I think John Madden or Pat Summerall had an allergic reaction. They had to take him downstairs to see the trainers and stuff. And it turned into a shit show. his intentions were to be funny and, make a laugh and have a good thing about it, but then it turned serious. But that's how he was. He was a kid. He was, kid at heart, liked to have fun, made everybody, put everybody at ease, for big moments and big games, which I think benefited the team a lot.
Oh my God, that's insane. I mean, is he just doing those kind of pranks all the time, like in the locker room, just nonstop?
Yeah, he was a prankster. I mean, there was always something going on with him. The red hot and the jock straps.
Ooh.
Just it was, um, there are so many things. I mean, it's been so long. It's been 18, 20 years since I've been there with him and stuff. And I mean, when we get together, like with Shimura and Marco, they all come back together and everybody brings them up, and it's like you remember them like it was yesterday.
I mean, I had a few cold pops there on Washington Street myself when I lived in Green Bay, and I mean that you guys are still legends down there. It's probably a good thing Twitter didn't exist, right? I mean, you guys got after it pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, we were talking the other day about that. I mean, I feel sorry for these players today because they can't go anywhere without anybody taking a camera, videotaping them, or just trying to go to dinner with their family. So it is kind of a different scenario, but we did have a lot of fun. And could we have done what we did 25, 30 years ago today? Probably not, because of the cell phone cameras and stuff. But that's the way it was. And we had fun. We went out after games and we drank our beer. We had fun, and but we went back to work on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and got ready for the next opponent. But where well, like I go back to a game today and people are like, where did the Packers hang out? I'm like, I don't think they hang out anymore because of the circumstances with Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. It's like everybody's afraid to do anything, and because one little step you could be in big trouble.
No kidding. Just on Brett too, real quick. Like, I mean, in '08 you were inducted into the Packers Hall of Fame, and I remember feeling so bad for you. I think I was an intern out there at the Packer Report or something, and I mean, this is like your day, your moment, and everybody's talking about kind of what they're talking about now with Aaron Rodgers. Like, Brett wanted back in, and Ted didn't want him there, and you're at the podium getting asked about Brett and the situation. You took it in stride. I'll never forget. Like, you just were like you are right now, so cool, calm, collected. But was there any party like, what the hell is going on right now?
Well, I mean, I knew it was going to happen. I mean,
Yeah.
my intentions when I went back up there in August for the induction, I think, or July, whenever it was. I knew that was going to be a possibility, but it's
Yeah.
I'm kind of a easygoing guy. I let things roll off my shoulders. It didn't bother me one bit. That's what happens when you're a quarterback. I mean, you're always in the news, and you try to make the most of it. And you look at 20 years later, and you see the same thing going on. So if it could happen to Brett and Aaron, I mean, it could happen to anybody in that business. And I just hope they get everything worked out and move forward, and because I think they have a good chance and they're a good team, and we'll see what happens.
Frank, what's your thoughts on today's game when you look at it? It's obviously heavy offense, kind of heavy, mostly passing. The games and the rules have kind of transitioned to help the quarterbacks and receivers and score a lot of points. Are you a fan of where the game is at right now?
Um, yeah, I mean, you watch the. I don't sit. I wouldn't say I sit around and watch football every Sunday, but if I'm at a friend's house where we're doing something, I'll watch it. I understand where the NFL is coming from. They're just trying to make it more exciting. They're trying to protect the players with regards to injuries, and and if you ask most of the fans and participants who watch the games, most of them rather see a game 34-31 versus 10-3. But it is what it is. It's a different game. I mean, just the whole makeup of the game with regards to training camp practices, hitting. It's just I mean, it would be tough for I think a lot of these guys today to play and endure a training camp and, practice twice a week and then have to play on Sunday
Mhm.
and do the same thing for 16, 17 weeks. It's a different game. Then this is my belief. Not everybody has to believe in me, but I think guys today, they're trained different than we were. I mean, we practice. We practice more in 1 week than some of these guys, some teams practice in a whole year, with the hitting. But that's just the nature of the game. They're trying to make it safe, for safety precautions and stuff. You look at today's game, I think more guys get hurt today now, with it being a lot more lax than it was when people, prepared, through training camps and stuff.
How's your health? I mean, you're right in the middle of the line when it was kind of pre-concussion awareness. I'm sure you got smacked in the head more times than you can
hmm
count. Probably had some concussions. Where's your health? Are you concerned at all down the road with where you might be?
Not really. I mean, I feel pretty good. I mean, for the most part, for as many years as I played and as many games I played, I do feel pretty good. I think my only concern right now is probably my hip has been bothering me, my hip and knee a little bit. Maybe that's because I walk a lot. I don't know. And I play a lot of golf. But yeah, I don't worry about it. I mean, I just, I just try to make the most of it, try to stay healthy. I don't drink as much beer as I used to, I don't drink as much as I used to be honest with you. And
Hey, you
I
got a
think
Michelob Ultra right there. You
yeah,
said
I
right.
know, but yeah, I know that's what I mean. Low carbs and less calories. So that was Miller Lite. But yeah, and it's just different. I just it's a different part of my life and stuff. But I try to stay a little more healthy and stuff like that. And I'm 57 now. I'm getting older, and it gets tougher. But I wouldn't change it for the world.
Frank, if you need some spotted cow, I would gladly deliver you spotted
Oh,
cow
I
anytime.
love spotted cow. Every time I go to Wisconsin, my daughter's like, "Make sure you get a case of spotted cow."
Well, now
I'm
you got
like,
the hookup. I'm only like an hour from Chicago, so I got you.
yeah. I stop in Racine, Kenosha, right there on 50,
Yeah.
right by the Broad Stop, and I stop and I usually and she's like, she's like, get me cans because I don't have much room in my refrigerator. I'm like, all right.
I actually prefer the canned spotted cow over the bottle. That might not be a fan favorite opinion, but I like the can. The cans are different to me with the spotted cow. A little bit more refreshing, I guess.
Yeah, you know what? If they're in a bucket of ice, they're both good when it's really cold.
Yeah,
But
I get
I
it.
love
Yeah.
spotted cow. But it's like I can only drink a couple of them because it just gets you bloated. Sometimes I feel like I'm renting my beer because all I do is I drink it and then I'm just pissing it out.
Yeah.
So
So,
it's like, unless my
so
buddy goes, man, he goes like, we're just renting this beer for about 20 minutes as you get older, you
Yeah.
know, because I remember, now I go to bathroom sometimes 5 times a night, so.
so you're in Chicago. What are your thoughts? This is completely out of what we're talking about, but what are your thoughts on maybe the Chicago Bears moving out of the downtown area?
You know what? It's an interesting question. It's a lot. There's been a lot of, it's been in the papers quite a bit lately. I live in Chicago. I'm good friends with a lot of Bears players. Like, I play golf a lot with Dan Hampton and Robo, and we recently did some things for Steve McMichael here last week with regards to his ALS and stuff like that. So it is an interesting question. It's I'm not a big fan of Soldier Field down there. It
Mhm.
looks like a spaceship landed inside that stadium. And I tell my buddies, I think if the Bears, if they had some smarter politicians down here, they probably could have put a dome on it and they would have the Super Bowl every 7 years
Yeah.
here and make a shitload of money.
Yeah.
But obviously, when you talk about politicians, you don't really talk about Chicago.
Yeah, they're
Oh.
not corrupt or anything there.
No.
they're-
Oh no,
no,
there's probably no money in it for them,
no, not
Um,
at all. Not at all.
But it's a great city. It's a beautiful city, and hey, business is business. When you look at these people that invest billions of dollars in these franchises and stuff. Most football owners or basketball owners, people that spend that much money, they're good businessmen. And I would much rather listen to a good businessman than to a politician telling me what's best for the team and stuff. Um, you know, it's that you look at what they did up in Wrigley Field. I mean, with Ricketts up there, I mean, he did a remark. He did what kind of what the Packers did. He rejuvenated that whole area up there with hotels, bars, restaurants, and fixed it all up and made it like an entertainment area. I mean, I mean, the city. You look at Chicago. They probably had they have 100 years to do something like that, and did it ever get done? No. You know, so I think it would be a good thing. I mean, maybe they get the city off its ass, and maybe help make some decisions to improve that stadium down there, because it's tough to get into that stadium. It's there's no parking. I mean, it's on a beautiful piece of land down there. It's right on the lake down there, but I don't think it was very well thought out.
And the playing surface too. Maybe you can speak on that. You hear a lot of players talk about it. You can see it on TV. Obviously, I've never been on the field to play, but you can just kind of see how choppy it is.
Yeah. Well, I think it's run by the Park District. And it is run by the Chicago Park District. I don't know if you've ever been to some parks in Chicago. I mean, or it's versus like teams like Green Bay and Kansas City, where they have these world-renowned sod specialists. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You got Chicago people who cut grass, and they're in charge of this. And then you talk about people getting injured because the grass is too high, and then it's too wet or it's too dry and stuff. It's I mean, sometimes you look at it, it seems like some people in Chicago, they can mess up a wet dream, and the way things should be done, they're not done down here. And hopefully this will light a fire under their ass, and hopefully they can make the city do some things that are good for the Bears and are good for the community in the city.
Shocked that governmental bureaucracy isn't better than private enterprise, Frank. I mean, it's just shocking there,
No.
right? It's
Very, very shocking, especially down here. Yeah.
You brought up a great point though, and I've heard this with people around the Packers. I mean, probably about 4 or 5 years in the making. There is some concern that maybe they're getting a little too corporate. The Titletown district is beautiful. I mean, I've had beers at Hinterland there, but I don't know. I don't even know how you would detail it, like, and what makes it corporate. But you hear that a lot. Like it's not like just shucks, little old Green Bay like it used to be. It's more corporate. Like, in what ways have you seen that? And I don't know if it's related or not, but it seems like maybe that's what Aaron Rodgers is upset about. I don't know.
I don't know if he's upset about that. I mean, I think it's great for the city. I mean, hey, if you can get somebody to buy an $800,000 condo in Green Bay, I mean, you're doing something special, and they have the Hinterland Brewery up there, and these offices are going to put in. I'm sure they're going to be expensive. They have Titletown Tech, whatever it's called, where they, it's great for local businesses in Wisconsin. I don't know if that's the reason why he's, what's going on with the Packers. I just think, I mean, I understand his point. He's a quarterback. Why would you draft a quarterback when they have many more needs? I mean, I cheer for the Packers every week, but I mean, they have drafted more defensive players in the last 10 years, and their defense is still ranked in the bottom of the NFL every year. You know what I mean? So I think I understand where he's coming from, where maybe he wants some more help, maybe, a receiver, a tight end, whatever. I don't know, whatever it is, an offensive lineman. But you have the quarterback that'll win now, and you got to take advantage of it. I understand everybody's always planning for the future, so we'll see what happens. I mean, my belief is, if things don't work out, you'll see, you'll see some. There could be a lot of people held accountable for those decisions and not bringing him back or letting him go, to somewhere else. Because, I mean, he is top 3 player in the NFL. I mean, if you look at it last year, I know they lost last year, but I mean, he was the MVP, and he put up mind-boggling numbers. And like I said, hopefully they get it worked out, get him back in training camp, and get him reunited with the guys and get back to work.
It's a pretty stubborn guy, though. I mean, when he's dug in. Like, he cuts people out, and if he's pissed off,
what? He is. somebody told me last week, why would he reconcile with the Packers? He hasn't even reconciled with his family.
It's
And I'm
true.
like, true, but sometimes you got to put that pride aside and do what's best for the team. And you know what? And if it doesn't, then maybe hey, it wasn't meant to be. You got to move on. I mean, the Packers can't stop operating because Aaron Rodgers wants it his way. It goes to show. I mean, they moved on from Brett Favre, and it was very successful after that. I mean, they have won world championship since we retired, since Favre retired. I mean, to be honest with you, Aaron Rodgers should have probably 4 world champions by now, easily.
Easy.
And every year, for some reason, it's like they just fall short in the championship game, and that maybe that's what he's bitching about, because they don't have those plays to get him over the hump and stuff like that.
I don't know though. Sell out at the goal line, 3rd and goal. Like, don't throw it across your body.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy.
These guys know where I stand, so I won't get on my
there's
horse.
no innocent party. I think they all play a little bit a part of it. And Frank, you brought up defense, and I have a question for you regarding defense. I know you played on the offensive line. Your teammate, a guy that consistently gets overlooked for whatever reason, for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Another guy that I grew up idolizing, Leroy Butler. What are your thoughts on his chances eventually getting into the Hall? Should he have been in probably 10 years ago over X amount of other safeties? But what are your thoughts on him? You were a guy that got to play with him and obviously see him in practice every day and on Sundays.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I do think Leroy should be in. I mean, I tell people, you look at the Hall of Fame. Now there are players who are superstar players who stand out above everybody else. But the difference between a Hall of Fame player and a great player, or even a guy that survives a long time in the NFL, is so the differences are so small. And I think a lot of it has to do with publicity. How hard they push you. There you look at a guy like Leroy with his numbers. I mean, last year I think he was in with Ed Reed. I think he went in. And then who else was it? John Lynch. John Lynch. Yeah, those guys are going to go in because you look at John Lynch. He won 1 Super Bowl. Yeah, he was a good player, but he's done a great job with the 49ers and stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of things that come into play, and how hard. John's on TV all the time now as a great general manager now. So that I'm sure that plays an integral part of his name being out there. But Leroy should definitely be there. Another guy. Look. People talk about Mike Holmgren. Look at Mike's record. He coached in 3 Super Bowls. You look at some of these guys who've gotten the Hall of Fame, and I'm not going to mention any names. They've been to 1 Super Bowl, and their record's ain't as good as Mike. So it's a different world today, in a different place. And I think you got to take it with a grain of salt. And you look at Leroy. Leroy's been retired for a while, and his name is not as well known as like you got like Ed Reed or Dawkins that's coming out now. So that plays an integral part of it too. But hopefully one day, he doesn't have to be like Jerry and wait around until he's like 70 years old, and when it's well deserving. So, but that's just part of that. That's the showmanship, and that's part of the Hall of Fame. It's I think it's bullshit, but it is what it is. They ain't gonna listen to me.
Yeah. It's so I feel like that's why so many of these guys even go on TV, like while they're at an NFL Network and calling games and even running teams like Lynch. It's it's hard to tell for sure, but I think it's self-serving in many cases.
Yeah, you look at most people that go on TV, they think they know it all. I won't mention any names, but I think a prerequisite of it to be a commentator in any sport, you have to talk bad about players, and I think it's bullshit. I watch guys and I hear them talking about like, oh, look, they did this and they did that. They should have done this, and it's like I'm thinking to myself, it's so hard to win in this at that level against great players, and you're going to sit here and you're going to. You think you know it all. I see guys on ESPN, and I'm not going to mention names if you probably could think of them. Some of those guys probably started 5 games in their whole career, and I watch them on Sunday morning football or NFL Network, and I'm thinking like, this guy's got a lot of balls talking about somebody, about what he should have done and what he could have done when this guy was like a third string player his whole career. You know what I mean? And I just sit there and I think like you guys just think you know too much and you don't. I mean, football's an easy game. You block and you tackle, and the team that makes less mistakes and the least turnovers usually wins. You're not a rocket scientist, you know what I mean? And people go out there and they just think they know it all, and they make it more complicated than it actually is.
You sound like me watching a Packer game every Sunday, Frank. I'm telling them what to do through my TV.
I was gonna say I love saying when people mess up.
I mean, yeah, everybody's got, what do they call them? I think when I was playing, they called it the Monday morning quarterback. You're sitting there, everybody's talking, oh, you should have done this. Yeah, but when a guy's running at you full speed and it's a reaction thing. It's like, hey, boom, it just happened, and you got to make the most of it. And people don't realize that it's complicated, and it's and when you're moving at full speed, it's a lot more difficult than little walkthrough on Wednesday morning before practice, and you got the script and the plays and the blitzes that are going to come, and so they try to make you look good so you prepare and stuff. But
speaking of us, Scott, oh, sorry, Frank, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So when I lived out in Green Bay, like I worked at the Journal Sentinel, and I mean, Bob McGinn was like my Green Bay dad out there. Like, I mean, imagine you had a lot of conversations with Bob. Speaking of media.
Oh yeah, me and Bob, we butted heads. Bob was another guy. He thought you think Bob played 40 years in the NFL. Bob couldn't do shit with regards to football.
Oh, take it easy on Bob. Come on now.
No, I like Bob. I do. I've actually. It was a funny story. So last year I'm in Chicago. And I'm sitting in this bar called Erie Cafe, and I'm on this patio with a bunch of buddies. I look across, I'm like, look at that son of a bitch, is Bob McGinn over there. And I'm like, Bob. And he won't answer. And I'm like, Bob. And he's like, I'm like, Bob McGinn. He looks at me, he goes, what the hell are you doing here, Frank? And I'm like, and we've become better. I mean, of course, as a professional player, you don't want to be you don't want Bob McGinn to saying you sucked and you blew the game on his Monday commentary and shit like that, And so we were talking to Bob, and so he was sitting down having dinner with his wife, his son, and his son's girlfriend. This place in Chicago, and he's retired. He's living up in Ann Arbor, Michigan now.
Yep.
And so we're sitting there, and then he introduces me to his son, and he doesn't even have a cell phone, Bob. Believe that?
No, he doesn't.
So,
he
doesn't.
So
true. So his son is texting me just. Because his dad wants to talk to me and stuff. And so we're there. And so his son's girlfriend goes to me. She goes like, so your name is Frank Winters? And I'm like, yeah. She goes, do you have a daughter named Aubrey Winters? And I'm like, yeah, that's my daughter. And now my daughter, she's an Instagram, like, I guess you call them a sensation or something like that, where they blog and she does her own workouts. And she has this huge following and stuff. She goes, she's like, I got to meet your daughter. She's like, she is really awesome and stuff like that. Now I tell my daughter when I see her, and everybody's like, oh, so you're Aubrey Winters' dad, huh? And I'm like, yeah, that's me, yeah. And it's so weird and stuff. But I did run into Bob, and we caught up and stuff like that. I think he's still doing some work with the draft and stuff.
He is, he's a great guy. I know. I get why he's polarizing with players too, like breaking the film down, trying to explain the game. This went right. This went wrong. I get it. It's just funny because I came on in 2011 and I can still remember the battles, with linemen then. I mean, that's a whole generation after you, he really, he talked to the linemen a lot.
I remember, I could to this day, I mean, there's so guys, I talked to him up, he's like, that guy, I mean, he's like that effing McGinn. If I see him, I'm going to kill him and stuff. And I'm like, turn the page, man. We're like, 25 years ago, I don't even think about it anymore. I mean, I'm like, shit. I'm like, hey, life's too short. Say hi and move on.
Yeah, I'll talk, and I'll leave it at this. He is one of the best human beings you'll meet. I mean, he did so much for me out there that he's just a great man. We got to get him on here. I should have told him that you were coming on. That would have been a good time.
Yeah, he would have been on. He would talk about our Chicago story.
Yeah. That's kind of funny though. So you're like known as, Brett's best friend, and now you're Aubrey's dad. Like, what the hell, Frank?
No shit.
Can you ever be Frank Winters? Like,
yeah, I know. Everybody's like, hey, so what's going on with Brett? I'm like, how do I know? I'm like, hey, I worry about myself, and that's about it, you know. And yeah, it's interesting, yeah. But he's you know, Brett's Brett, you know. Everybody wants to know how Brett's doing. I'm like, and I understand that, you know.
Are you guys still
That's,
tight then?
yeah, we still talk. Yeah, I think he is. He's either hunting or I think last time I talked to him, he was getting back into golf. Um, and I think with COVID and stuff, because I work for the NFL now, I work for the Legends community, so I would see him at like at the Super Bowl and stuff like that. But because of with COVID, everything was shut down, so we haven't done nothing. Everything's
Yeah.
been Zoom and just kind of going through the motions on. Zoom calls and doing conference calls. That's about it, really.
Awesome.
Frank, speaking of that, speaking of Brett Favre, and I want to ask you a little bit about that 96 championship team. Now, all kinds of characters in that locker room. Brett Favre was kind of the wild child. You got Leroy Butler, and you got you, and you got kind of Reggie White. What, if you could, nothing that, want to intrude on any privacy, but speak a little bit about the dynamics of that locker room, how you guys made that work and how successful you guys were.
Sure. I mean, I think there was a culmination of prior years before that, losing in the NFC Championship game, I think 2 years in a row in Dallas. We had a very veteran group of guys. And if you look back at the teams, we had some young players that were playing on the team, but we also had a really good group of veterans like Santana Dotson, Reggie White, Gilbert Brown, George Kuntz, Leroy Butler, Doug Evans, and then on the offense you look at Shimura, Keith Jackson, Earl Dotson, Brett, Edgar, Dorsey. So there was there was a veteran group of players there. And we've been down that road prior to 96, and we knew what it would take to get to the next level. And we knew that playing home in Green Bay in 96 would really be beneficial for us to have a better chance to make it to the Super Bowl. And that's what happened. We knew when we had a home field advantage, we were going to be tough to beat. Not saying we were cocky or overconfident, but we knew that coming into Green Bay in January is tough to do. Mm-hmm. And I think it was a learning experience, from the years of going to Dallas and getting our ass kicked, prior to 96. I think that taught a lot to a lot of the players, and we learned a lot too. And we knew that, hey, just by showing up and participating, you're not going to get there. So we've been through the ringer. We knew what it was going to take, and we made it work.
Now, speaking of Ty, I'm sorry if I'm asking if you need me to stop.
Oh, go ahead, man.
I want to ask you quick, Frank, and you're the perfect guy to ask when you're talking about playing in the cold weather in Lambeau. Now, obviously, you hear a lot about like the weather being a factor with teams from warmer weather playing in the cold weather. Do you guys like that? Now you live in Green Bay, you practice in Green Bay, you fill up your gas in Green Bay. Are you guys a fan of playing in the cold, or is that like something where you're just like, all right, well, I guess we'll just, we're used to it. Is there a real advantage to playing in the cold when you're from, or when you're living in Green Bay?
We thought it was, when we played, because, we knew psychological, we knew it.
Okay.
That's how we thought it was. And plus we prepared for it like that. We practice outside during the cold times. You look at the last couple times the Packers have been in the playoffs, it's like, there's really been no advantage for Green Bay,
right.
I don't know if it's they're mentally they weren't as tough. I'm not saying they're not as tough as us. Because I think for the money they're being paid, I think you would be. But it seems that teams come into Green Bay and there's that they don't have that same fear that that we try to instill on teams when they came in. And you look at the last couple of years in playoff games in Green Bay. The Packers, it's I hate, almost like they shit down their leg. It's tough. Especially when you have, especially when you're playing the NFC Championship game, you don't lose NFC Championship games at home. It just doesn't happen. Very rarely it does. We went in '97. We went to San Fran, but we knew we were a better team then. We went back there. and you can say what you want, but I mean, it's you have to you can't lose home field advantage, especially because you work so hard throughout the year to
Mhm.
get it, and when you lose it, it's just it's tough, and I mean, and like this year, it was a bitter pill to swallow. I mean, I mean, people talk about Tom Brady. I mean, everybody's like, oh, Tom Brady, he wins all the time and stuff. And I used to be the same way, but I'm like, now you got to give that guy kudos. I mean, he goes out there and he gets his guys, whatever it takes, he wins at all
Mhm.
costs. And you know what? And you got to respect a guy like that. And is there something in the Packers that exhilarates that presence over the teammates? I don't see it. You know what I mean? But you got to look at a guy like Tom Brady. He goes out there and he gets those guys to win, and they love playing together. And they're awesome to watch. Are they better than Packers? I don't think they were, but
Mhm.
on that Sunday, I mean, they came out and what they did to the Chiefs was remarkable.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, they kicked the shit out of the Chiefs. I mean, it wasn't even a game from when they stepped on the field. It was like they literally destroyed the Chiefs, and they could say, well, this guy's hurt, and that's all bullshit. I mean, everybody's got to play. It's at the end of the year, everybody's beat up and everybody's banged up. It's a mind over matter thing, and you got to give credit to those guys because it reflects from their coach. Bruce Arians is a tough guy. He's an old school guy, and Tom Brady, he's been through the ringer, and they have a bunch of guys that they just wanted to win, and whatever it takes, they did it.
And to your point earlier, Frank, I mean, talking to some of those Packer players through these playoff collapses, they did say like their head coach at the time, Mike McCarthy, if it's cold out there, they're practicing inside. His attention is maybe going to the offense more than the defense. There are a lot of little things that add up, I think, where soft is too strong of a word. I don't think anybody who plays the game is soft. But
Uh-huh.
I mean, there's something missing in those moments. And I think maybe coaching has something to do with it. And maybe quarterbacking there, that is a difference between a Tom Brady and an Aaron Rodgers because he's 1-4 in NFC championship games. Something's missing there.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I don't think I don't think Tom Brady's lost an AFC champ or a championship game with an AFC NFC. I mean, it's just about a mind over matter, and he's mentally tough, and he's just to get the job. And yeah, I mean, it's when people talk about coaches being soft and stuff, coaches coach, players play. I mean, perfect example is, people talk about a perfect example is this year, like Bill Belichick. He should probably go down as one of the greatest coaches of all time. But if you ask my personal opinion, who would you rather have? Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, or Bill Belichick, or anybody else? I'm taking a quarterback because the quarterbacks are out there playing the game. And I truly believe in the NFL, if you look at the teams that are successful year in and year out, teams that have great quarterbacks win all the time. They've been there've been some circumstances where I think Tampa Bay won a year with the great defense and stuff like that, but that does happen. But I mean, if you're going to build your franchise, you build it around a quarterback, and it goes to show. I mean, look at the record of the Patriots this year, and look what Brady did. It goes to show, hey, he won again. So I'm like, hey, give me Tom Brady. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, and I know some people like to hear that, but it's the truth. I mean, in today's game, you have to have a quarterback to win in the NFL.
That's where it's just so fascinating with what the Packers and Rodgers are doing right now. Like, I get it. Like, you want to beg and plead and you want this guy back because of what you said. I mean, it's a quarterback's game. At what point, I just wonder, does Green Bay say, there's nothing else we can do here? There's nothing like it's going to get interesting, but I don't think anybody knows how it's going to end.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming up quick because I think they report in July.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I mean, I don't know this Jordan Love guy. What was it? I don't even know his name. I think I know his last name is Love, whatever it is. Um,
Future MVP Jordan Love, Frank. That's how he's known
yeah,
around here. Yeah.
That's how we
that's
call
good.
him.
Yeah.
Good. I mean, I hope so. I hope so. But I just say that, listen, um, they better hope so, because if it doesn't work out like everybody's future MVP, then all those guys are going to be looking for jobs. Murphy, LaFleur, they're all going to be looking for jobs because when you let a guy like, and I could see if Aaron was kind of like at the end of his twilight of his career and he had a shitty year. I mean, the guy had the best year of his career. I mean, it's like, listen, this is the problem with the NFL. People, people, I think people overanalyze. People think that the grass is always greener on the other side, but it's not, and that team right now is built to win now. I mean, because with Aaron Rodgers, I mean, and I'm not knocking anybody or knocking anything, but if Aaron Rodgers don't puts up 31 points a game, the Packers don't win. And it's been like that for years. I mean, the Packers are not winning, 31-7. They're winning 31-28, 34-30, so I understand where Rodgers is coming from. So you just got to be careful for what you wish for, because people think like, well, I mean, you look at Bill Belichick, look what happened to Bill. I mean, hey, this is the system works and stuff. Bullshit. That system didn't work. Tom Brady, it went and showed that, hey, Tom Brady is, he's the guy that makes that thing work, and I hope it works. I mean, if Jordan Love, whatever that's his name, Jordan Love, whatever his name is, if he comes in and he makes it work, great. But I mean, we'll have to wait and see with that. Nobody knows. Nobody has that crystal ball. At least with Aaron Rodgers, what he's going to put on the field, And I just think, my thing is, for playing for a long time in the NFL, you just be careful what you wish for, because those Packer fans and all that Titletown stuff and all that stuff that could turn quickly if you start going 3-13,
Yeah.
And then you have fans, chomping at the bit. So we'll see what happens. I mean,
it's been since you got there in 92. I mean, since you got there, it's just been winning. That's it.
Two losing seasons in that time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People don't know that life.
They don't.
I don't. I'm that person.
I talked to people the other day. I play golf with them. They're like, man, like my dad would talk about the Packers in the 70s and 80s and how bad it was. And they're like, it's been since I got there in 92, it's going to be 30 years next year.
Yeah.
And it's like 2 years and 30 years. I mean, that's remarkable in professional sports. You know what I mean? And like I said, just be careful, because you look at the people who are buying tickets now. All they know is that the Packers win all the time, and they're in the playoffs. And they're I mean, we've won 2 Super Bowls since '92. The Packers should have had like 6 or 7 Super Bowls with the teams we had. Perfect example. You look at '97 when we lost Super Bowl 32. I mean, we should have won that game. I mean, we were favored by 14 points, and we got outplayed, and we had coaches who were stubborn and didn't change the game plans. Who we didn't go in and make adjustments. And it's nobody's to blame. But I mean, that shouldn't happen. They Denver shouldn't have been able to run the ball down our throat like that. I mean, we knew they were going to do it, and that's what they were going to do. We knew they were going to blitz, but you can't go back and look back and say, well, shoulda, coulda, woulda. It is what it is. Hey.
I was going to ask you though, if there was a game that stuck with you to this day. I'm guessing that would be it, right? I mean, you guys.
That would be it. I mean, you look at. I mean, if you went back-to-back Super Bowls, I mean, you're a dynasty. You consider like, wow, we don't have the greatest teams. Now we shit down our legs that game. I mean, we should have won that game. And after that, everything fell apart. I think Mike left the next year, went to Seattle, or he came back for one more year, and then didn't want to be there, and it was a negative effect on everything. But yeah, that's if you have a bad taste in your mouth, that would probably be the game that it was. I mean, because we you can't say you were better than them. We thought we should have won that game, and if we probably played that game 10 times, we probably win 8. But you got to give them credit. They came out and they did things that they done year round, and we didn't make the adjustments, and we didn't get it done. And you have to give them credit.
I mean, Dorsey was running hard that game, right? I mean, is that what you're talking about? Maybe just hand the ball off, I
mean, yeah, we they blitzed a lot, and we did a lot of scat protection. We didn't have enough blockers, and where it was, I mean, at that point, it was like you would seem like whoever had the ball last would win that game. And I mean, it was like, I think it was 31-24, and some things could have happened. We should have done, we should have did, and but it is you can't look back and 20, whatever 20, 24 years ago. That's not going to change anything. We just wanted to try to make things happen. But we knew that if you win two Super Bowls in a row. I mean, and we had a lot of guys that retired that year. You had Sean Jones who left and Keith Jackson. They didn't come back, because of they won their Super Bowl and they retired after that. But we were banged up that last year. We were really beat up. So, but it is what it is. But I'll tell you one thing. I tell people, thank God we won 31, because if you had that bad taste in your mouth if you lose two Super Bowls,
Yeah.
Leroy's probably in the Hall of Fame then too.
Probably, yeah. A lot of guys, I mean, yeah, they would, yeah. There's, we didn't have we were a really good team. Leroy probably would be in and stuff like that. You're probably right.
They changed their whole game plan around him, right? Like they would.
Yeah.
Like I remember reading a story. Like they were splitting. Was it
Mark
Shannon
Schlereth?
Sharp?
Mark Schlereth said it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You look at that game. I mean, you look at the Super Bowl the year before. I mean, when they were trying to block Dave Megan on him, he would go in there and just destroy David, and I like David. David's a good player and stuff, but he couldn't take on Leroy. Leroy was like, 25, 30 pounds bigger than him. And, Leroy, I mean, I hate to say this, but Leroy, he doesn't look like the most athletic person on the field, but Leroy was, I always tell Leroy looks at deceiving, you know what I mean? And that was him. And, he got the job done for so many years and was a great player and well deserved of it. And, we'll just see what happens, and hopefully one day he gets in there.
Frank, I got, I promise one more question for you, and you'll probably get sick of hearing me after this is over with. But I do want to ask you a little bit about the Aaron Rodgers situation. And as a former player, as a guy that understands the dynamics of a locker room. Now, if you're a player, and now a lot of players have come out and said that it's his business and we don't want no part of it. What are your thoughts on, as a former player, are you looking at this guy like, okay, are you coming with us or are you not? Do you think that it can create a little bit of a divide in that locker room if there's guys that are kind of starting to get a little bit fed up and guys that are buying in, and you got, strong leadership already in that locker room with guys like Devontae Adams and Zadarius Smith. And now your best player, your leader, your MVP is quote unquote holding out. And do you think that causes a little bit of a friction in that locker room?
I don't think right now, because Aaron's been in the league for so long. I think he's been through the rigors. He knows what it takes to get through training camp. He knows how to survive. He knows what the details he's got to pay attention to once he gets back into training camp. So I don't think it's much of a deal now, but I think during training camp it will start causing. It would probably start causing some dissension amongst teammates and stuff like that, because you're going to have people that are going to stick with him, and then there's going to be other people like saying, hey, to hell with him, let's go, we need to move on and stuff like that. And it's going to get to a point where eventually, there's going to be probably a joint effort, if they trade him or if he comes back. But I really do believe that I do really believe that if he comes back, I think the teammate will just be, hey, you know what, we don't take him back, because this is also giving a chance for some of those young guys to get some reps and stuff like that. With Aaron being there, they won't be able to get that. Who knows? Maybe it's planned. I don't know.
Could be.
I don't know. Because you look last year with Jordan. Is his name Jordan Love?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay. You look at Jordan last. He didn't get any training camp. No, he didn't get many rests because there's no mini camps, nothing. So this gives them an opportunity to get some experience. So who knows? Maybe that's the way it's working out. I don't know, but I don't think that causes dissension. Hey, everybody knows this is a business. People want to get paid. And if he wants $100 million, pay the guy. You know what I mean? It's not like, there are guys making them, guys, there are guys that, I know he makes a lot of money now, but still, he's one of the best players in the league. So you got to pay him if he wants more money, or, if he wanted more help on offense, hey, listen to him. I don't know. Maybe he felt like he was neglected. I don't know. I don't really follow it that much, but I just hope in the end it works out and they can move forward and, get back on track and win some games.
I appreciate you taking my questions, Frank. It's
Mm,
been an honor to
problem.
talk to you, man. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And I know Colin's been hanging over there. Before we sign off, you got anything for Frank here, Colin?
No, I can't think of anything. I've had a good time. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I
I,
appreciate
apo-
it.
I
That was
apologize,
awesome.
Frank, if I if I asked too many questions.
No, that was great.
No, that was good.
Frank,
No
we can't
problem.
thank you enough, man.
Oh,
Really
thank you very
appreciate you
much.
spending an hour with us here. You're the man.
I appreciate it, Tyler. Thanks a lot. You guys have a good weekend.
You too, sir.
All right, you got it, man. We'll keep in
Bye-bye.
touch.
All right, take care, Tyler. Bye bye.
Thanks, Frank.
Bye.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thanks, Ty. Appreciate you,
That
man.
was great. Appreciate you guys hanging out.
Always.
Awesome. See you next week.
Later.